let's jump right into this. Welcome, focused learners, to today's explainer. Now, if you've ever felt like you're absolutely brilliant at starting new things, but kind of terrible at finishing them, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're actually hacking the systemic glitch that causes incredibly smart, capable people to just quit early. We're going to break down the exact practical tools you need to build unbreakable consistency. So, let's start with a somewhat hard but necessary question. Do you ever look around and wonder why you struggle so much with inconsistency while everyone else seems to just effortlessly knock out their goals like marathon runners? Society loves to hand us that old line, jack of all trades, master of none. And while we might laugh it off in public, deep down, we really start to ask ourselves if our internal operating system is just fundamentally broken. And honestly, the proof is usually sitting right in our own homes. Look around your room right now. Does it look a bit like a museum of unfinished ambitions? Think about that copy of Think and Grow Rich on your nightstand that you bought with huge dreams, read maybe one chapter of, and now it's literally just a coaster for your morning coffee. Or look under the bed. There's a yoga mat from a New Year's resolution that's now just a dusty scratching pad for your cat. And somewhere in your phone, that little green owl from Duolingo is screaming at you to study Spanish, reminding you of a proud streak you broke like 6 months ago. Every time we look at these things, it stings, right? It's a physical reminder of our inconsistency. Now, the actual brain science behind why this happens is absolutely fascinating. It is not laziness. It's a phenomenon called reward prediction error. See, when you start something brand new, you get this incredible novice high. Your learning speed is insanely fast. Every 5 minutes, you get a rush of dopamine because you're figuring things out. But eventually, you hit a plateau. You've learned the basics. Now, to get to the next level requires 10 times the effort for just 1% of new knowledge. Your brain, acting like a super strict accountant, just shuts off the dopamine faucet. It decides the reward no longer matches the effort, and it triggers intense, crushing boredom to get you to stop and do something easier. Everyone experiences that drop in dopamine, for sure. The real question is, why do some people push through it while others just don't? Well, it comes down to this psychological muscle right here, distress tolerance. It's basically your emotional endurance. And ironically, the smarter you are, the weaker this muscle tends to be. If you were the smart kid in school who learned things super quickly and didn't really have to study hard, you became addicted to fluency. You never actually had to build up the emotional immunity to sit with the terrible feeling of being confused, stuck, or bored. And this right here brilliantly illustrates the harsh reality we have to confront if we actually want to grow. When things get repetitive and boring, it feels like absolute torture to a brain that's used to easy wins. So, what do? We jump to a new project. We romanticize it by calling ourselves multi-talented. But really, that project hopping is just an escape mechanism from the discomfort of deep practice. We're operating with adult intelligence, sure, but the emotional patience of a 5-year-old throwing a tantrum for candy. We absolutely have to train that muscle. All right, so let's get into the tools. Tool number 1, the 10-minute rule. We need to treat distress tolerance exactly like a muscle. And just like at the gym, we need a specific routine. Why this exact number, 10? Because behavioral science has shown that the intense urge to quit, that feeling of overwhelming boredom, it operates just like a wave. It peaks, and it attacks your brain for exactly about 10 minutes before it naturally starts to fade. If you can ride out this wave, you win the whole game. So the crucial point is how we actually execute this. Next time you're trying to learn to code or practice an instrument, and your brain starts screaming at you to check your phone, step 1, immediately recognize that urge. This is the final rep at the gym where your muscles are shaking. Step 2, give your brain a direct order. Okay, I will let you rest, but in exactly 10 minutes. Step 3, start a timer. And step 4, and this is vital, guys, during those 10 buffer minutes, your job isn't to produce great work. Your job is just to stay put. Stare at the screen, type nonsense if you have to, but you absolutely do not switch tabs. Every time you survive this final rep, you are literally cutting off the neural pathway of procrastination. Moving right along, tool number 2, Kaizen micro steps. Simply forcing yourself through willpower alone? Exhausting. We need a smarter psychological lever to trick our fear responses at the very beginning of a task. Look at the stark difference here. When you set a goal to write an entire novel or practice guitar for 1 hour, your brain's fear center, the amygdala, sees a literal saber-toothed tiger. It triggers a fight-or-flight response, which in the modern world means running to the couch to scroll social media. But Kaizen micro steps, They borrow from Japanese philosophy to shrink the task down until it's actually laughable to your fear center. Instead of writing a novel, your goal is to read exactly one paragraph. Instead of a grueling hour of guitar, your only commitment is to play exactly 3 notes. These steps are so ridiculously small that they just slip right past your mental defense walls. And here is the absolute magic of this tool. Once you pick up that guitar to play those 3 safe notes, you almost never just play 3 notes and stop. You completely bypass mental inertia. You usually end up playing for 10 minutes or even an hour. By starting impossibly small, you've quietly activated your prefrontal cortex. That's the logic and planning center of your brain, and snatched the steering wheel right back from the wild, fearful animal inside. All right, tool number 3, navigating the dip. Society tells us constantly that winners never quit, but honestly, that is a complete myth. The most successful people in the world quit all the time. They just know when to do it. As author Seth Godin brilliantly coined, when you start something new, the initial excitement of a project fades, but the results haven't shown up yet, and you fall into a deep hole. You're working like crazy, but the output is 0. This is the dip. Most folks quit right at the very bottom of this hole, entirely out of frustration. But polymaths, people who master multiple skills, they operate differently. They don't quit out of emotion at the bottom of the hole. They only quit when they hit a strategic dead end. So how do you know if you're quitting emotionally or strategically? Well, you aim for this exact stage, the utility point. This is when you've grasped roughly 80% of a skill's core fundamentals. For example, if you're a writer, you don't need to spend 10 brutal years becoming a National Geographic photographer. You just need to learn enough about lighting, aperture, and composition to shoot your own really great article covers. Once you hit that 80%, you have successfully harvested the skill. And this is a massive perspective shift. Look at these 2 approaches. I'm stopping because my fingers hurt. That's the emotional lie your brain tells you on a bad day. Never quit on your worst day. But, hey, I'm stopping because I harvested the 80% I needed to support my main goals. Now that is the cold, calculated strategy of someone who knows exactly how to manage their time. Reaching the utility point isn't a failure at all. It just means you got the gem you came for and you are simply changing the channel. Which brings us to the ultimate payoff, the reframe, skill stacking. All these tools we just covered, surviving those 10 minutes, taking Kaizen micro steps, hitting the utility point, they're all leading you to a reframe that will change how you see your entire career. In a world driven by artificial intelligence, being a hyper-specialist is actually incredibly risky. AI can write code or translate languages way faster than a specialist. But you know what AI cannot replace? Bridge builders. Look at James Cameron. He isn't just a director. He's a deep-sea diver and a physics engineer. When the technology didn't exist for Avatar, he literally used his engineering skills to invent a brand new 3D camera. A pure director would have been completely stuck. Or look at Ryan Reynolds. Handsome actors are everywhere in Hollywood, right? But Reynolds stacked his acting with viral marketing. He used Deadpool's humor to build a billion-dollar one-man media empire. Combining unrelated skills makes you completely, utterly irreplaceable. Scott Adams summarizes this entire philosophy perfectly. You really don't need to be the absolute best in the world at one narrow thing. That is a trap. Instead, use your natural curiosity to become very good, like top 25%, at multiple things, and then mash them together. That deep boredom you used to feel? Actually, scratch that. It's not even boredom. It's an instinctual drive pushing you to gather diverse materials for a toolkit that nobody else has. So I want you to really internalize this right now. You are not broken. You are definitely not lazy. Your mind naturally craves a wide variety of inputs because you are literally wired to be a bridge builder. Every single time you push past that 10-minute wall to learn a bit of coding or use micro steps to learn a bit of psychology, you are actively gathering the unique materials needed for a completely original path. You've got the practical tools now. You know exactly how to bypass the fear, sit with the boredom, and harvest exactly what you need at the utility point. So the only question left to ask yourself is this. Take a look at the incredible, multifaceted toolkit you are already building. All right.